watching Dagestani fighters dominate the MMA world for years, to seeing an Aussie jiu-jitsu wizard step in and flip the script.
30 seconds left and Craig Jones gets the finish.
Some of these stories aren't just wild, they're straight up game-changing. Today, we're diving into how Craig Jones, the laid-back Aussie with a mullet, turned the tables on the undefeated Dagestani wrestling machine. And trust me, you are not ready for what's coming. Starting with a guy who saw the problem, cracked the code, and made the impossible possible. Craig Jones, the unassuming jiu-jitsu wizard from down under, flipped the script on the undefeated Dagestani wrestling machine. And trust me, you're not ready for what's coming.
Dagestani guys, Khabib, Islam, they are good at submissions, but they break guys mentally and they fatigue them, and then they take the submission that's offered.
Dagestani fighters, led by legends like Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makachev, have ruled the UFC for years. Their wrestling is like a suffocating vice, controlling, grinding, and breaking opponents both physically and mentally. Khabib's legendary 29-0 record wasn't just a stat, it was proof that his opponents didn't just lose, they quit. Islam followed in Khabib's footsteps, dismantling every opponent with his pressure and relentless top control. The Dagestani style was feared because it seemed unbeatable, but where there's dominance, there's always someone looking to find a crack in the armor. Enter Craig Jones, the game changer. At first glance, Craig Jones might not seem like a threat. A surfer with a mullet and a relaxed demeanor, this Aussie jiu-jitsu phenom could be mistaken for someone more at home on the beach than on the mats. But don't let that fool you. Behind the laid-back exterior is a tactical genius, quietly studying the best wrestlers in MMA and figuring out how to break their game. Craig didn't try to beat Dagestani wrestling at its own game. Instead, he asked himself, what if we don't fight against their wrestling? What if we let them dominate and use that to our advantage? And with that revolutionary thought, he set out to turn the tables. Instead of trying to out-wrestle the wrestlers, Craig studied the Dagestani approach, focusing on escapes, transitions, and precision. His method wasn't about surviving, it was about setting traps. He realized that Dagestani wrestlers, while dominant, had predictable patterns. Craig began designing a jiu-jitsu playbook that could turn their suffocating pressure into openings for submissions and escapes. Fast forward to 2021, UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski was about to face submission specialist Brian Ortega. Ortega locked in a guillotine so tight, it looked like Volkanovski's night was over. But Volkanovski didn't panic. Instead, he used the exact techniques Craig had taught him and escaped, turning the tide with brutal ground and pound. Volkanovski didn't just survive Ortega's attack, he flipped the fight. This wasn't just heart, it was Craig's blueprint in action. Then came UFC 284, where Volkanovski faced Islam Makachev, Khabib's protege and the latest Dagestani prodigy to storm through the UFC. Everyone thought Volkanovski wouldn't stand a chance. Islam had dominated everyone in his path, but Craig wasn't about to let that happen. Volkanovski stuffed Islam's takedowns, avoided being controlled on the ground, and even landed significant strikes. Despite losing the decision, Islam admitted that Volkanovski was the toughest fight of his career. Craig's anti-wrestling strategy had worked, showing the world that you could survive Dagestani wrestling and even fight back. But it wasn't just Volkanovski. Craig's methods were now making waves across the MMA world. Jack Della Maddalena, the Aussie knockout artist, had his own takedown defense issues. Enter Craig Jones once again. Jack had to face Belal Muhammad, an elite pressure wrestler, and he was about to test Craig's blueprint for the first time. With Craig's coaching, Jack's takedown defense was next level. He stuffed Belal's attempts, kept his distance with precise jabs, and stayed calm under pressure. By the end of the fight, Jack had outclassed Belal, and that wasn't just an upset, it was further proof that Craig's strategy worked across different fighting styles. Now, the ultimate test is upon us, UFC 300, where Jack Della Maddalena will face Islam Makachev for the welterweight title. Islam vacated his lightweight title to chase Jack's strap, and the MMA world is holding its breath. This is the clash of two worlds, Islam's suffocating Dagestani wrestling versus Jack's knockout power, with Craig in his corner. If Jack wins, it won't just be a victory for him, it will be the official cracking of the once untouchable Dagestani wrestling code. The future of MMA will be forever changed. But Craig's revolution doesn't stop there. As more fighters adopt his methods, his playbook continues to evolve. Craig isn't just a jiu-jitsu specialist anymore. He's a tactical mastermind. His approach has redefined how fighters approach wrestling. It's about strategy, timing, and knowing when to turn their strengths into weaknesses. With each new fight, more fighters are starting to adopt Craig's techniques, and the landscape of MMA is beginning to shift. Craig Jones has cracked the code, and the MMA world will never be the same. Whether Jack wins or not, Craig's influence will be felt for years to come. Do you think Jack can make history at UFC 300? What do you think of Craig's anti-wrestling methods? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you believe the Dagestani dominance is about to be broken, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more MMA insights.